and then they get a little Bible as well for their child. And so let me go through here as you guys kind of bring it in, and I will introduce these individuals to you. And make sure I don't miss up these names. So we have William and Carrie Rankin, and this is Lila. This is Kaylee. This is Lila. This is the one being. This one's being Lila. All right. Lila's the one being dedicated this morning. They look kind of alike to me, but this is Lila Angeline Rankin. And so they're coming this morning to dedicate their child to the Lord. This is Josh and Audrey Roach, and this is their daughter Kylie. Middle name Ainsley. I'm getting Angeline and Ainsley mixed up. But that is Josh and Audrey Roach, and this is Jeremiah and Melissa Berry with their daughter Maya. And from this point on, congregation just know I'm going to be talking to them. Doesn't mean you can't listen, but I'm going to be talking to them since it is addressed to them. This morning, as you come as parents to dedicate your children to the Lord, you're saying two things. One, you're saying that you believe this child is a gift from God. And two, by doing this, you're saying that you're willing to give this child back to God. And to give this child back to God means three things. One, you're confirming your love for God. What you're saying today is that you're letting God know that you still love Him more than you love this child. I know sometimes in the society that we live in, it's very easy sometimes to get so wrapped up in our children that they become number one in our heart. And the reality is that when, as a Christian, we are to put and make God number one in our heart. Secondly, you're clarifying your love. And what I mean by that is, you're saying today, this child doesn't really belong to you, the rest of this child belongs to God. And that God has given you this child to give. And as that gift, He has, in a sense, placed this child in your hands to raise that child. Which brings us to the third thing. Not only is it a confirmation of your love, a clarification of ownership, but it's a commitment. And today, as a parent, you're saying that you're committing yourself to raise this child up in a godly home. You're committing yourself to say that you're going to teach this child the ways of Christ, that you're going to pray for this child, that you're going to keep this child in church, and that you're going to share Jesus with this child. If that is your intention this morning, to get your child back to the Lord and to, in a sense, dedicate yourself as parents to be the godly parents that God has asked you to be, I'm going to ask that you say I do after each of these questions, all right? Do you this day recognize this child as a gift of God, and do you thank God for this blessing every day? Do you this day dedicate this child to the Lord? Do you this day dedicate yourself to raise your child in a godly home? Do you dedicate them to the point where Christ and His church are going to be honored in your home? Do you promise this day to begin leading your child to accept Jesus Christ as Savior and serve Him as Lord? And do you promise to set before your child an example of consistent, godly living? And finally, do you here this day ask God's blessing upon his life to guide, to guard, and to direct it through all its years? If that is your promise today, I'm going to ask Brother Gary to come and to pray for you guys, and just to pray for God's blessing upon your family, but also to pray for God to give you the strength and the courage you need to be the parents that God has called you to be. Brother Gary, you'll do that, and then we'll hand out the Bibles and the certificates. Brother Gary?
Father God, we thank you for this time. Father, we thank you for this time. We love you for the Father, we ask that you bless you. Father, we thank you for allow me to raise my precious children in the way that you can be children and children. Hearing these, Father, we very much know we need to know the condition of every path. And Father, we thank you for your anointing and the care that you have for us. Father, we thank you for precious children and so that it continues to study your animal and increase and look about them. And allow them to come to the training of Jesus Christ. Father, we know that dedication is not faithful. So Father, we make you pay attention to this. Thank you for the precious people who are here this morning. We ask you to lead them in that way.
Amen. We know that as a church it is not much, but we have provided a certificate as well as a small Bible. And the certificate is just to be a reminder to the parents, the commitment that they have made today to raise their children up. And not just these children, but the other ones that they have in their home that they've already dedicated to the Lord, to continue to raise them the way God has called them to raise them. I'm going to give this to Jeremiah and Melissa Berry and her daughter Maya Ann Berry. And there is her New Testament. Brother Gary, you have Josh and Audrey Roach with Kylie Ainsley Roach. I'll give these to you, Josh. And then present to William and Carrie Rankins and their daughter Lila Angeline Rankins. It's right here. In church, I'm going to ask, and I always ask this, but if you promise to pray, and I do this every year, but if you promise and to let these couples know that you're going to be promised to pray for them, just raise your hand. It's always an encouragement to see adults out there to say, I know these people are praying for me, and I know that I'm not alone as a parent. And so we appreciate them, these three couples. We appreciate the commitment that they're making today to raise their children in a godly home. Let's give them a hand.